here are the top 10 players that you need to add right now for Week 8. And coming in at number 1, it is Gus Edwards. Had an absolutely phenomenal week coming straight off of injury. Didn't expect much of him, but he beat all of our expectations. He is clearly the lead back, at least while J.K. Dobbins is out. And I think he's out for over a month. Even when J.K. Dobbins is back, I still think he's a valuable running back to have. I think he's currently the most talented running back. He ran ahead of all the other running backs on the team immediately, which is a really good sign. Justice Hill fumbled the ball and probably lost a little bit of trust, and I don't think he's going to be a major factor. He's really only got to beat Kenyon Drake right now, and I think he's definitely able to do that with his skill set. So we definitely think you should pick up Gus Edwards as the number 1. I think he's owned in 38% of leagues, so go check. If he wasn't stashed before this week, then he's the best pickup on the week, in my opinion. What do you think about Gus Edwards?
Yeah, I love Gus. I actually said he was a pickup last week, and then I came out with a second short video to say go pick him up before the game. I put that on Saturday so people could get ahead of the waivers. So Gus scored 18 fantasy points. He had over double-digit touches in his first game, and he only played 36% of the snaps. So he still has a lot of room to go up in his production. This was his first game back from injury. They're going to give him more touches in the future. He's already got the goal line back locked down as he scored 2 touchdowns. And in this running back friendly offense, he should be able to succeed, which he has done in the past, and I think he will do so in the future. All right. So our number 2 guy you should look to pick up is Wan'dale Robinson, wide receiver for the New York Giants. So this is only his second game of the year. Last week he did score a touchdown. This week he got 8 targets, which led all receivers on the team, which is phenomenal. He looks great. Like, just watching the games, he looks like one of the best athletes on the field. Obviously not better than Saquon, but he looks amazing. They are a wide receiver desperate team right now, as many of their options are injured or just aren't very good. And they're winning games. So you need to pick him up. He's especially good in PPR, but has some half-point PPR value as well. And he has a 27% target share currently, which is amazing.
Yep, and he's still going up in snaps coming off that injury. Got 8 targets last week. That's pretty good. Daniel Jones is looking better week by week. In my opinion, he's getting the job done, so he can definitely get it to Wan'Dale. He's playing Seattle next week. You could flex him, or you could just stash him, which is what I'm doing. All right, coming in at number 3, we have Chuba Hubbard. I know a lot of leagues he was added. He's still available in 53% of leagues, so we're still going to mention him. Him and Deontay Foreman are both heavily owned, but go check if they're owned, if somebody maybe drops him after they hear about the injury. But it looks like Chuba Hubbard should be returning next week. I don't think he'll be missing much time, if any at all. And it will be a split backfield, but there's going to be some value, with the receptions and just with they don't really have any other weapons on that offense anymore. So it's going to be a lot of going to those 2 running backs as well as going to DJ Moore. So if you're desperate at running back, definitely look to pick one of those guys up, although they may be already owned.
Yep. So number 4, who you should pick up is tight end Greg Dulcich for the Denver Broncos. So this is another rookie. He's only played last week and this week. He's actually doing very well. Last week he had 44 yards and a touchdown, which is good in both PPR and standard. This week he got 9 targets, which is phenomenal for a tight end and especially a rookie tight end. And he's had double-digit fantasy points both weeks. It looks to be like a mainstay / safety blanket in that offense for either quarterback, both Russ and Brett Rypien. So if you need a tight end, which let's be honest, most of us do, I think you can pick him up and plug him in your lineup for the rest of the year.
Yep, and as a rookie, he's going to have a lot of upside, so you want those kind of players on your bench, and he's already putting up serviceable numbers. So, yep, pick up Greg Dulcich. And let's go down to our number 5, which is Khalil Herbert. We just watched Khalil Herbert on Monday night. He has continued to be more efficient than David Montgomery, but don't be fooled. He's not going to be the lead back. It just doesn't seem like the coaching staff wants to do that. He remains an elite handcuff were David Montgomery to go down. We've seen when David Montgomery goes down, he performs amazing for fantasy football. He is a locked-in running back 1, but for now, he's still doing decent numbers. He just got 12 carries, basically almost as many as David Montgomery, so it's looking like it's getting more split as time goes on. Like I said, he is very efficient. He's got over 6 yards per carry for the season. Just on his 12 carry game on Monday, he got over 5 yards per carry. So he's very efficient. He's more efficient than David Montgomery. Very talented player and an elite handcuff.
Yeah. So number 6, we got Rachaad White, who is another just elite level handcuff. He looks very good in the limited snaps that he's getting. And I could see it becoming more of a 50-50 split between him and Leonard Fournette. But if Fournette were to ever get hurt, Rachaad White would probably be an RB1, if not mid to high end RB2 immediately in PPR formats. So you need to roster this guy. If you're really, really desperate on bye weeks and injuries, you can fill him in as a flex. But mostly you're just going to hold him as a handcuff in case something happens to Leonard Fournette.
Yep, just a great handcuff. Only thing that puts him below Khalil Herbert is that I don't think he's startable without an injury, right? At least right now. And that offense is struggling a little bit, so you definitely don't want to start him. All right, moving on to number 7, we have Latavius Murray. Now, he's owned in about 44% of leagues, so he may not be available in your league, but go check. He's done decent after his move to the Denver Broncos, but hasn't seen a ton of snaps. But he should see an uptick after it was announced that Mike Boone is going to IR. So for at least 4 weeks, he will be splitting the backfield with Melvin Gordon, and he has the opportunity, should he perform better, to take over the backfield. And if Melvin Gordon continues to have fumbling problems, then I think Latavius Murray could see a really good workload. So it's definitely a speculative ad right now that you could line up if you're desperate, but more of like a see if he takes over the backfield type deal. He's got a decent amount of upside.
And number 8 would be for you quarterback needy teams. Maybe you have an injury. Maybe your quarterback sucks like Russell Wilson. Maybe you have bye weeks. But you can pick up and start Daniel Jones this week. He's available in about 60% of leagues out there. He gets the Seattle Seahawks, which is a pretty good matchup for your quarterbacks. But Daniel Jones is getting it done, both in real life and for fantasy. So if you watch the games, he's actually throwing a lot of dimes, hence the name Danny Dimes. But his receivers, unfortunately, last week had the drop-itis, and they dropped like 5 or 6 passes, which is unfortunate. But he provides you a very solid floor with his rushing upside. Last week, he had 11 rushes for 107 yards and a touchdown, which is absolutely insane. You don't think of Daniel Jones as a rusher. But on the year, he has more rushing yards than Najee Harris. That's not a joke. He has more rushing yards than Najee Harris. So he provides upside. He provides floor. He has a great matchup. So as a bye week fill-in, you can definitely pick up Daniel Jones' starter this week.
Yep, if I was desperate, I'd start Daniel Jones this week off the waiver, available in 60% of leagues. Before we get on to the rest of the pickups, we've got a couple more and then some honorable mentions. I just want to ask you guys if you could please subscribe. You helped us at 100 subscribers. We're looking to hit 200, so we'd really appreciate it. All right, moving down to number 9, we have Marquise Goodwin. He just had a big 20-plus point game. A lot of people are maybe going to be rushing to the waiver wire. DK Metcalf dealing with some kind of injury. As of this recording, we don't know the details, but he could miss at least a game. And if he does, then Marquise Goodwin would be a pretty good flex pickup and play option. I don't think he's necessarily a long-term ad, and we don't really know how much he will be involved even if DK Metcalf misses, but you could do worse for a flex fill-in off the waiver if there's not really any other options above the ones that we mentioned. So he's a player that you could add, but I'm not spending up a lot as far as fab.
Yep. And last but not least, it is going to be Joshua Palmer. I know the Chargers are going to be on bye this upcoming week, so he's not really going to help you this week. But with Keenan Allen still slowly working his way in with a hamstring, and Mike Williams unfortunately getting hurt with a high ankle sprain, which is expected to miss at least 3 or more weeks dealing with that. That gives opportunity to Joshua Palmer, and he has shown that he can succeed at least on a flex-worthy pace without one of Keenan Allen or Mike Williams playing before. So in this offense, where the defense is just getting more and more injured and allowing more and more points, so they're constantly throwing the ball, you could do worse than picking up Joshua Palmer and playing him next week.
Yeah, if you got space on the bench, it's a decent stash, but if you don't sweat it. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to add him. That does it for our top 10. We're going to go into some honorable mentions that have some deeper level ads, as well as some players that are heavily added that we're not so sure about. So before we get into that, let's talk about a quarterback that could be added. That's Sam Ehlinger, and he's owned in 0% of leagues. If you're in a 2QB/Superflex league and you're desperate at quarterback, He is worth an ad. I'm sure you guys have heard the news about Matt Ryan, so we don't have to tell you too much. I mean, it's just a speculative ad. He's a 6th-round quarterback, so wouldn't expect too much, but worth a speculative ad. So yeah, add him if you're completely desperate at quarterback.
Yeah. Another honorable mention is going to be Parris Campbell, a receiver for Sam Ehlinger. Actually, the past few weeks he's looked pretty solid, and he's playing a lot of snaps. But with the quarterback change and some inconsistency with the offense, it's really hard to know who we can trust and who we can't trust going forward in this offense. So if you want to spec on him, you can just pick him up and hold him and see what happens. But I really wouldn't be interested in chasing the points for this past week and trying to plug him in my lineup right away.
Speaking of the Colts, continuing with that theme, Alec Pierce, go check if he's available. He could get dropped after this week. I know he's owned in a lot of leagues right now, probably owned right now, but seriously, go check if he gets dropped. He just had a bad week. However, it's important to note he's getting a new quarterback. He's a rookie, and he just set his record high in snaps by a lot. He was in 97% of the snaps last week. His previous high on the season was 65%. So although we didn't like the production from last week, we had seen a few weeks before that he had done pretty well. And now that he's getting on the field more and more, it seems like the coaching staff likes him. He has every opportunity to ascend in this offense to at least be the number 2 guy. So definitely worth being added if he gets dropped.
Yep. Another honorable mention we have is Mecole Hardman. He's coming off an absolute monster game, 3 touchdowns. But with that being said, I'm not chasing these points. I'm not interested in picking up Mecole Hardman. We've seen this from him before where he has these explosive games and then just disappears. The Chiefs' offense this year is clicking on all cylinders, but for fantasy, really the only guys I'm comfortable starting every week is Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Other than that, it's kind of just random who has the good week, whether it's CEH or Jerick McKinnon or Isaiah Pacheco or MVS or Juju or Mecole Hardman. It's just kind of spread out and random. So I'm really not interested in adding them. I mean, if you're desperate and you absolutely have to, I mean, sure, but I'm not interested in it at this time.
Yeah, and it's important to note that he's about to go into a bye week, so it would be an expensive hold for a player that you're not sure about on an offense that spreads around the ball a lot. And to go to our final honorable mention, we have Darius Slayton. This is a deeper level ad. He's owned in 7% of sleeper leagues, so he's widely available. If you're in a deeper league and you're desperate for a flex play, he's somebody that you could pick up if you were desperate. I mean, they really don't have a lot of people to throw to. It's looking like Wan'dale could be the number 1 guy, but who knows? Darius Slayton has had a couple of good weeks on the season. He just came off a decent performance, so worth an ad if you're in a deeper league.
Yep. Yeah. And that wraps it up for our waiver wire episode today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're still watching, please leave us a like and a subscribe. We would love to have you in the community. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments, whether it's trade advice or waiver advice or who to add drop or whatever questions or comments you have. Leave it below. And thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.